The Awakening of Elian. In the quiet settlement of Nerith, nestled among the lush green hills of planet Keelera, lived a young engineer named Elian. With tousled brown hair and bright green eyes that sparkled with curiosity, he was known for his knack for fixing anything mechanical. His days were spent tinkering with old machinery, breathing life into discarded relics from a time long forgotten. However, beneath his cheerful demeanor lay an insatiable thirst for knowledge that often led him to explore places where few dared to tread. One fateful afternoon, while rummaging through the remnants of an ancient outpost on the outskirts of Nerith, Elian stumbled upon something extraordinary, a small metallic device adorned with intricate symbols that pulsed faintly with energy. It was unlike anything he had ever seen before. As he carefully brushed away layers of dust and debris, he noticed a series of buttons and a small screen flickering to life. With trembling hands, he pressed one of the buttons. To his astonishment, a holographic projection sprang forth, revealing a map dotted with locations across Keelera. Each point glowed ominously, accompanied by cryptic messages in an ancient language that sent shivers down his spine. It was a message from an ancient civilization that had once thrived on Keelera, a civilization that had mysteriously vanished without a trace. Elian's heart raced as he realized the implications of his discovery. This device could hold secrets that might change everything for his people. Yet, as excitement coursed through him, so did doubt. He had always been taught that knowledge came with responsibility. Sharing this discovery could lead to chaos or worse, abuse by those who sought power at any cost. As he made his way back to Nerith, Elian grappled with conflicting emotions. Should he share this incredible find with his mentor, Elder the Los? The Los had always encouraged curiosity in exploration but also emphasized caution when dealing with the unknown. Or should he keep it secret until he understood its true purpose? Upon arriving home, Elian found the Los in his workshop, surrounded by blueprints and tools scattered across the table. The Elder's silver hair glimmered in the dim light as he meticulously examined an old engine component. "Elian, you're back early," the Los said warmly, looking up from his work. "What have you found today?" Elian hesitated for a moment before deciding to reveal part of his discovery. "I found something unusual at the outpost," he began cautiously. "It's a device from an ancient civilization." The Los raised an eyebrow, intrigued yet wary. "Ancient technology can be dangerous if mishandled. What does it do?" "It seems to contain information, maps and messages," Elian replied, excitement creeping into his voice despite his reservations. "But I don't fully understand it yet." The Elder's expression shifted from curiosity to concern as he leaned closer. "Elian, you must be careful. Such discoveries can attract unwanted attention." "I know," Elian said quickly, "but what if it holds answers about our past? About why they disappeared?" The Los sighed deeply and placed a hand on Elian's shoulder. "Knowledge is powerful, my boy. But it can also lead to destruction if placed in the wrong hands." Elian nodded but felt an overwhelming urge to delve deeper into the mysteries hidden within the device. That night, he lay awake in bed, staring at the ceiling as thoughts raced through his mind, thoughts about loyalty to his people versus the allure of forbidden knowledge. The next day brought new resolve. Elian decided he would investigate further before making any decisions regarding whom to trust with this information. He spent hours poring over ancient texts in the village library and experimenting with the device late into the night. As days turned into weeks, whispers began circulating among villagers about strange occurrences near Nerith, unexplained lights flickering in the sky and odd sounds echoing through the hills at night. Some speculated that it was merely folklore or tales spun by children seeking adventure, others believed it was a warning from spirits long forgotten. Elian felt an unsettling connection between these events and what he had discovered but couldn't articulate why. Was it possible that someone else had found similar artifacts? Or worse, were there those who sought to exploit this knowledge? Determined not to let fear dictate his actions, Elian decided it was time to consult someone outside Nerith, a figure known for their wisdom and insight into ancient lore, Serafina, a reclusive historian who lived on the edge of Kalara's vast forest. Serafina was known for her extensive knowledge of Kalara's history and her ability to decipher ancient texts that others deemed indecipherable. After navigating through dense foliage and winding paths for hours under dappled sunlight filtering through leaves overhead, Elian finally reached her humble abode, a quaint cottage adorned with vines and flowers blooming vibrantly in every corner. Knocking gently on her door brought forth an elderly woman with silver hair cascading down her back like flowing water and eyes that sparkled with wisdom acquired over decades spent studying Kalara's past. "Ah! Young Elian," she greeted warmly upon recognizing him. "To what do I owe this unexpected visit?" Elian took a deep breath before explaining everything, the device, its contents, and how it seemed connected to recent events in Nerith. Serafina listened intently before nodding thoughtfully. "You've stumbled upon something significant indeed," she said finally. "But be warned, such revelations often come at great cost." "What do you mean?" Elian asked anxiously. "Knowledge can be both a gift and a curse," she replied cryptically before leading him inside where shelves lined with dusty tomes surrounded them like guardians of secrets long kept hidden from prying eyes. As they delved deeper into discussions about ancient civilizations and their fallacies, about loyalty versus ambition, Elian felt himself grappling more than ever before with choices that would shape not only his destiny but that of all Kalara's inhabitants. Would he choose loyalty towards preserving peace among his people or pursue knowledge that could unravel everything they held dear? As dusk settled outside her cottage window casting shadows across parchment scrolls unfurled upon tables cluttered with artifacts from ages past, Elian realized one thing above all else: whatever path lay ahead would require courage beyond measure, and perhaps even sacrifice, to uncover truths buried beneath layers upon layers of time itself. The Council of Elders. The sun hung low over Nerith, casting long shadows across the village square as Elian made his way to the council hall. The air was thick with tension, whispers of his discovery had spread like wildfire, and the villagers were abuzz with speculation. Some viewed him as a hero, while others feared the implications of ancient knowledge resurfacing. Elian felt the weight of their gazes upon him, a mix of admiration and suspicion that made his heart race. Inside the council hall, the atmosphere was electric. The elders, a group of wise and seasoned leaders, sat in a semicircle, their expressions grave. At the center was Elder Thalos, who had always been a guiding light for Elian. Today, however, his brow was furrowed with concern. "Elian," Thalos began, his voice steady yet filled with urgency. "You have brought forth information that could alter our understanding of Kalara's history. We must discuss the implications." Elian nodded, taking a deep breath as he stepped forward. "I found a device at the ancient outpost. It contains maps and messages from a civilization that vanished long ago. I believe it may hold answers about our past and our future." The elders exchanged glances, their expressions shifting from curiosity to apprehension. Elder Mira, known for her sharp intellect and fierce loyalty to the village, leaned forward. "What do you propose we do with this information? Knowledge can be a double-edged sword." "I believe we should study it further," Elian replied passionately. "We need to understand what it means before making any decisions about sharing it with others." Elder Karun, a stoic figure known for his unwavering pragmatism, interjected. "And what if this knowledge brings danger upon us? We cannot ignore the possibility that it could attract unwanted attention from those who seek to exploit it." Elian felt a knot tighten in his stomach at Karun's words. "I understand your concerns," he said earnestly. "But if we bury our heads in the sand, we risk losing valuable insights into our own history and potential threats we may face." The room fell silent as the elders considered Elian's words. After what felt like an eternity, Thalos spoke again. "We must tread carefully. I suggest we form a small committee to investigate this device further, one that includes trusted members of our community. Elian's heart soared at this suggestion. "Thank you, Elder Thalos. I promise I will do everything in my power to ensure we handle this responsibly." As discussions continued around him, Elian felt a sense of purpose igniting within him. He was determined to uncover the truth behind the device and protect his people from any potential dangers lurking in its depths. The secret faction. Unbeknownst to Elian and the Council, not all members were united in their intentions. In the shadows of the council hall lurked a secret faction led by Elder Varek, a charismatic leader who believed that knowledge should be wielded as power rather than preserved for safety. Varek had been listening intently to the discussions from a concealed alcove, his eyes gleaming with ambition. He had long sought ways to elevate himself within the council and saw Elian's discovery as an opportunity to gain influence. "Knowledge is power," Varek murmured to himself, plotting his next move. "If I can control this information before anyone else does, I will become indispensable." He slipped away from the meeting unnoticed, determined to gather allies who shared his vision of harnessing ancient technology for personal gain. A dangerous alliance. Later that evening, Varek convened with a few trusted associates in a dimly lit tavern on the outskirts of Nerith, a place where secrets were exchanged over mugs of ale and hushed conversations. "Tonight is our chance," Varek declared, leaning forward with intensity. "Elian has unwittingly placed a treasure in our hands, a device that could give us leverage over the council itself." One of his associates, a wiry man named Rian with quick eyes and an even quicker tongue, nodded eagerly. "But how do we get our hands on it? Elian is fiercely protective of his findings." Varek smirked knowingly. "That's where our skills come into play. We'll create distractions, confusion among the villagers, and while they're preoccupied, we'll slip into the council hall and take what we need." The group exchanged glances filled with excitement and trepidation. They knew they were treading dangerous waters but were drawn in by Varek's charisma and promises of power. The gathering storm. As days passed, tensions grew within Nerith. The villagers became increasingly divided over Elian's discovery. Some rallied behind him while others fell under Varek's influence and began questioning whether ancient knowledge should be kept hidden or used for their advantage. Elian sensed the unrest brewing around him but remained focused on his research alongside Elder Thalos and Mira, who had joined their committee out of concern for their community's future. "We need to ensure that whatever we uncover stays safe," Mira urged one evening as they gathered in Thalos's workshop surrounded by scrolls and artifacts from Kalara's past. "I agree," Thalos replied thoughtfully. "But we must also be prepared for those who might seek to use this knowledge against us." Elian nodded solemnly. He could feel an undercurrent of danger lurking just beneath the surface of their discussions. A night of intrigue. That night brought an unexpected turn of events when Elian awoke to strange sounds coming from outside his window. A cacophony of voices raised in anger echoed through Nerith. Rushing outside, he found villagers gathered in heated arguments fueled by rumors spread by Varek's faction. Accusations flew about betrayal and secrets being kept within the council. "Elian," someone shouted amidst the chaos, a familiar voice belonging to Rian who stood at the front lines alongside Varek. "You've uncovered something dangerous. Why should we trust you?" Elian felt anger rise within him as he faced Rian and Varek head-on amidst growing hostility from those around them. "You don't understand." Elian shouted back over the din, "This isn't about power or control. It's about understanding who we are." Varek stepped forward with an air of authority that silenced many voices momentarily. "Or perhaps it's about keeping secrets that could lead us all into darkness. We deserve transparency." As tensions escalated further around them, fists clenched and faces flushed, Elian realized they were at a critical juncture. He needed to act quickly before things spiraled out of control. Rallying support. "Listen." Elian called out desperately to those gathered around him. "I propose we hold an open forum, a chance for everyone to voice their concerns without fear. We can discuss what I've found together." Murmurs rippled through the crowd as some began nodding while others remained skeptical, but Elian pressed on with fervor. If we allow fear and division to dictate our actions now, he continued passionately, we risk losing everything. Let's unite instead. Slowly but surely, more voices joined his call for unity amidst growing unrest. The tide began shifting against Varek's faction as people started recognizing Elian's sincerity. As night deepened around them, the stars twinkling overhead like distant promises, Elian felt hope rekindle within him. Perhaps they could navigate these treacherous waters together after all. But deep down inside him lingered an unsettling feeling, an awareness that Varek wouldn't easily relinquish control nor allow their newfound solidarity without putting up a fight. And so began an unfolding saga where loyalty would be tested against lies, where ancient truths would clash with modern ambitions as Kielera stood on the brink of change. Shadows of Betrayal. The underbelly of Nerith. As the sun dipped below the horizon, casting a golden hue over the village of Nerith, Elian felt a growing sense of urgency. The open forum he had proposed was set to take place the following day, and he needed to prepare for the inevitable questions and concerns that would arise. However, unbeknownst to him, shadows lurked just beyond the edges of his plans, shadows that belonged to Varek and his faction. In a dimly lit corner of the tavern where Varek had gathered his supporters, the atmosphere was thick with anticipation. Varek stood at the center of a small group, his charisma igniting a fire in their hearts. "Tomorrow, we will disrupt Elian's forum," he declared, his voice low but filled with conviction. "We cannot allow him to sway the villagers with his idealistic notions. Knowledge is power, and we must seize it before it slips through our fingers." Rian, ever eager to please, leaned in closer. "What's your plan? How do we make our move?" Varek smirked, a glint of malice in his eyes. "We'll create chaos. A distraction that will draw attention away from Elian's words. While they're busy dealing with the fallout, we'll slip in and take control of the device he discovered. The forum begins." The next day dawned bright and clear as villagers gathered in the central square for Elian's open forum. Nervous energy crackled in the air as people exchanged murmurs and glances filled with uncertainty. Elian stood at the front, flanked by Elder Thalos and Mira, who offered silent support. "Thank you all for coming," Elian began, his voice steady despite the fluttering in his stomach. "Today, we have a chance to discuss what I found at the ancient outpost and what it means for us as a community." As he spoke about the device and its potential significance, he noticed a few faces in the crowd that seemed less than supportive. Varek's followers were among them, their expressions hardening as they listened. "Why should we trust you?" shouted one voice from the back, a familiar face among those who had rallied behind Varek. Elian took a deep breath, preparing for this moment. "I understand your concerns. But I believe that knowledge can unite us rather than divide us. We must learn from our past to protect our future." Disruption strikes. Just as Elian began to gain traction with his speech, chaos erupted from the outskirts of the crowd. A loud crash echoed through the square as several barrels were toppled over by Varek's supporters, sending villagers scrambling in all directions. "Look out," someone shouted as panic spread like wildfire. Elian's heart raced as he watched people flee in confusion. He realized this was Varek's plan, a calculated distraction meant to undermine his message and sow discord among the villagers. "Stay calm," Elian shouted, trying to regain control over the situation. "Everyone, please. We need to stay together." But amidst the chaos, he spotted Varek slipping away toward the council hall, a determined look on his face that sent chills down Elian's spine. A race against time. "Thalos! Mira!" Elian called out urgently as he sprinted after Varek. "We need to stop him." The two elders nodded and followed closely behind as they navigated through scattered villagers trying to regain their composure. As they reached the council hall entrance, they found Varek standing before it with Rian and several other supporters flanking him. "It's time to take control," Varek sneered at Elian as he stepped forward confidently. "You've had your moment in the spotlight, but now it's our turn." Elian felt anger boiling within him but knew that responding with violence would only escalate tensions further. "This isn't how we solve our problems. We need to work together." Varek laughed mockingly. "Work together? You're naive if you think that's possible. Power belongs to those who seize it." Confrontation within. As tensions heightened between Elian's supporters and Varek's faction outside the council hall, Elder Thalos stepped forward to mediate. "Enough," he boomed, silencing both sides momentarily. "This is not how we resolve our differences." Elian seized this opportunity to address everyone gathered around them. "We are all part of this community. We cannot let fear or ambition tear us apart. We must unite against those who wish to exploit us." Varek scoffed at Elian's words but noticed some villagers hesitating, uncertainty flickering across their faces. "Look around you," Elian continued passionately. "We have faced challenges before and emerged stronger because we stood together. Don't let anyone convince you otherwise." Just then, Rian stepped forward defiantly. "And what if your knowledge leads us into danger? What if we're better off without it?" Elian met Rian's gaze head-on. "Knowledge is not inherently dangerous, how we choose to use it determines its impact. We can learn from our past mistakes instead of repeating them." The turning tide. Slowly but surely, murmurs began rippling through the crowd as villagers processed Elian's words, some nodding in agreement while others remained skeptical. Varek sensed that he was losing control over his followers and grew increasingly agitated. "This isn't over," he spat before turning on his heel and storming away with Rian and a few others trailing behind him. As they retreated into the shadows of Nerith, Elian felt a wave of relief wash over him. Perhaps they had managed to avert disaster this time. Aftermath and reflection. In the aftermath of the confrontation outside the council hall, villagers began dispersing slowly, some still shaken by what had transpired while others engaged in quiet discussions about their future. Elian stood alongside Thalos and Mira as they surveyed what remained of their gathering. Their community was fractured but not broken. "We need to regroup," Thalos said thoughtfully. "This isn't just about knowledge anymore, it's about loyalty, and understanding what loyalty truly means." Mira nodded in agreement. "We must find a way to bridge these divisions before they grow wider." Elian felt determination swell within him again. He couldn't allow fear or ambition to dictate their fate any longer. "We'll hold another meeting," he announced resolutely. "One where everyone is invited, where we can openly discuss our fears and hopes without judgment." As they left the square behind them, a sense of purpose ignited within Elian. He knew they had much work ahead, but together they could forge a path toward unity amidst uncertainty. For shadows may linger around them, but light would always find a way through. The Fractured Alliance. A new mission. The atmosphere aboard the ship was tense as Elian, Thalos, and Mira gathered in the dimly lit conference room. The events of the previous day weighed heavily on their minds. Varek's disruption had not only caused chaos but had also highlighted the divisions within their community. Elian knew they needed to act quickly to prevent further unrest. "Today, we must focus on our next steps," Thalos began, his voice steady. "We cannot allow Varek's ambitions to derail our mission. We have uncovered something significant, and we must protect it." Elian nodded in agreement. "We need to strengthen our alliance and ensure that everyone understands the importance of what we've discovered. Knowledge is our greatest weapon against those who seek to exploit it." Mira leaned forward, her brow furrowed with concern. "But how do we convince those who are swayed by Varek? He has a way of manipulating people to serve his interests." Elian took a deep breath, feeling the weight of leadership settle upon him. "We need to show them that unity is our strength. If we can gather enough support, we can counter Varek's influence." Gathering allies. With a renewed sense of purpose, Elian and his companions set out to rally support from the villagers. They traveled from home to home, sharing their vision of a united Nerith and the importance of safeguarding the ancient knowledge they had uncovered. As they spoke with villagers, Elian found that many were still fearful of Varek's faction. Some expressed doubts about whether they could trust Elian and his group. However, others were inspired by his passion and determination. "We must stand together," Elian urged during one gathering in the village square. "We cannot let fear dictate our actions. If we unite, we can protect our future and honor the legacy of those who came before us." Slowly but surely, more villagers began to rally behind him. They shared stories of their ancestors and the strength they had shown in times of adversity. Elian felt a sense of hope blossoming within him as he witnessed the power of unity taking shape. The unexpected visitor. Just as momentum began to build, an unexpected visitor arrived in Nerith, a figure cloaked in mystery and authority. It was Seraphina, the historian whom Elian had consulted earlier about the ancient device. "Greetings, Elian," she said with a warm smile as she approached him in the village square. "I have heard whispers of your efforts to unite the people against Varek's faction." Elian felt a surge of relief at her presence. "Seraphina, your wisdom is needed now more than ever. We are trying to rally support for our cause." "I sensed a disturbance in the fabric of Keelera," she replied solemnly. "The ancient knowledge you've uncovered holds great power, but it also attracts those who would seek to misuse it." Elian nodded gravely. "That's why we must act quickly. We need to protect what we found before it falls into the wrong hands." A warning from the past. Seraphina's expression turned serious as she continued, "The ancients left behind warnings about their technology, about how it could be used for both creation and destruction. You must tread carefully." "What do you mean?" Mira asked, her curiosity piqued. "The device you found is not just a map, it contains information about powerful technologies that could alter the balance of power on Keelera," Seraphina explained. "If Varek gains access to it, he could unleash chaos upon our world." Elian felt a chill run down his spine at her words. "We cannot let that happen." "But how do we stop him?" Seraphina paused for a moment before speaking again. "You must find allies among those who understand the significance of this knowledge, those who have studied the ancients and their ways." A call for counsel. With Seraphina's guidance, Elian decided to call for an emergency council meeting, a gathering that would include not only the elders but also scholars and influential figures from across Nerith. As word spread about the meeting, anticipation filled the air. Villagers gathered in droves, eager to hear what Elian had to say and discuss their future. On the day of the meeting, tension hung thick in the room as everyone took their seats around the large table in the council hall. The Los presided over the gathering while Elian prepared himself to address those present. "Thank you all for coming," the Los began solemnly. "Today, we face challenges that threaten not only our community but also our very existence." Elian stood up, feeling empowered by Thalos' words. "I have discovered something significant, an ancient device that holds knowledge about our past and potential threats ahead," he said passionately. The debate begins. As he spoke about his findings and their implications for Keelera, murmurs rippled through the crowd, some faces lit up with intrigue while others remained skeptical. "What if this knowledge brings danger upon us?" one elder questioned cautiously. Elian met their gaze firmly. "Knowledge itself is not dangerous, it is how we choose to use it that determines its impact. We must unite against those who would exploit it for their own gain." Varek supporters shifted uncomfortably in their seats as Elian continued to speak passionately about unity and cooperation. "We have faced adversity before," he urged them. "Together, we can protect our people and honor those who came before us." As discussions unfolded around him, some voices rising in support while others remained skeptical, Elian felt an overwhelming sense of responsibility resting upon his shoulders. A rift forms. Just as it seemed they were making progress toward unity, Varek burst into the council hall with Rian at his side, a determined look on his face. "This is absurd. Varek shouted as he interrupted Elian mid-sentence. You think you can sway these people with your empty promises? Knowledge is power. And I will not let you keep it hidden. Gasps echoed through the room as tension escalated once more. Varek's presence ignited old fears among those who had been swayed by him previously. Varek! The Los called out sternly but was met with defiance. Enough! Varek sneered at the Los before turning back toward Elian with contempt etched across his features. You're nothing but a fool if you think you can control this knowledge. I will take what is rightfully mine. Confrontation and resolution. Elian felt anger boiling within him but knew that responding with violence would only escalate tensions further. Varek, he said firmly but calmly, this isn't just about power or control. This is about protecting our future. Varek laughed mockingly at Elian's words but noticed some villagers hesitating, uncertainty flickering across their faces once again. You're naive if you think you can change anything. Varek spat back defiantly before storming out of the hall with Rian following closely behind him. As silence descended upon them after Varek left, the weight of uncertainty hung heavily in the air. Elian realized they still had much work ahead, but together they could forge a path toward unity amidst uncertainty. The final confrontation. A gathering storm. As the ship glided through the vastness of space, Elian felt a sense of urgency growing within him. The council meeting had sparked a fire in the hearts of many villagers, but Varek's faction was still a looming threat. With Seraphina's guidance, they had gathered valuable allies, yet the specter of betrayal still hung over them like a dark cloud. Are we ready for what lies ahead? Elian asked the Los and Mira as they stood on the bridge, watching the stars streak by outside the viewport. The Los nodded, his expression grave. We must remain vigilant. Varek will not take our unity lightly. He will strike when we least expect it. Mira crossed her arms, her brow furrowed in thought. We need to anticipate his moves. If we can outmaneuver him, we might be able to turn the tide in our favor. Elian felt a surge of determination. We have to protect the knowledge we've uncovered and ensure it doesn't fall into the wrong hands. We must be prepared for anything. The calm before the storm. As they approached the coordinates Neela had provided, tension filled the air aboard the ship. The crew worked diligently to prepare for their mission, checking armaments, recalibrating systems, and ensuring that everyone was ready for whatever challenges awaited them. Elian found himself pacing the bridge, his mind racing with thoughts of what lay ahead. He couldn't shake the feeling that they were being watched, that Varek was lurking in the shadows, waiting for the right moment to strike. Champion Takari, came a voice from behind him. It was Ni, his expression serious. We've detected an anomaly ahead, multiple ships approaching our position. Elian's heart raced as he turned to face Ni. What kind of ships? Scans indicate they belong to Varek's faction, Ni replied grimly. They're closing in fast. Preparing for battle. Everyone to your stations. Elian shouted, adrenaline coursing through him as he took command. Prepare for potential combat. We need to be ready to defend ourselves. The crew sprang into action, their movements swift and efficient as they readied the ship for battle. Elian felt a mix of fear and determination. They had come too far to back down now. As they took their positions, Mira approached Elian, her eyes fierce with resolve. We can't let Varek take what we've worked so hard to protect. We need a plan. Elian nodded, his mind racing with possibilities. If we can outmaneuver them and use our knowledge of the terrain to our advantage, we might stand a chance. The Los joined them, his voice steady amidst the chaos. We must also consider our allies. If we can coordinate with them during this confrontation, it could turn the tide in our favor. The clash begins. Just as they finished their preparations, alarms blared throughout the ship, red lights flashing ominously as Varek's ships appeared on their screens. Enemy vessels approaching. Ni called out urgently. They're armed and ready for battle. Elian felt his heart pound in his chest as he took a deep breath. Steady yourselves. We fight for our future. The first shots rang out as Varek's ships unleashed a barrage of laser fire toward Elian's vessel. The ship rocked violently under the impact, but Elian held firm at his station. Return fire, he commanded, gripping the controls tightly as he focused on targeting one of Varek's ships. Mira worked alongside him, her fingers flying over the controls as she coordinated their defenses. We need to create a diversion. If we can draw their fire away from our allies. On it. Elian shouted back as he maneuvered their ship into a more advantageous position. A battle of wits. The battle raged on around them, lasers streaking through space like shooting stars as both sides fought fiercely for control. Elian could see Varek's ships moving in formation, trying to flank them and cut off their escape routes. The Los. Can you get us closer to those asteroids? Elian called out over the din of battle. The Los nodded resolutely. I'll plot a course. Hold on tight. As they navigated through the asteroid field, Elian felt a surge of adrenaline. This was their chance to use their surroundings to their advantage. He glanced at Mira, who was coordinating with their allies in real time. We need to give them cover, she shouted above the chaos. Elian focused intently on piloting through narrow gaps between asteroids while returning fire at Varek's ships. They were close now, close enough that he could see the enemy vessel's markings clearly. The turning point. Just when it seemed that all hope was lost and Varek's ships were gaining ground, Serafina's voice echoed through their comm system, a calm presence amidst chaos. Elian. I've managed to rally additional support from nearby settlements. They're en route. Relief washed over him like cool water. They weren't alone in this fight after all. Hold steady. Elian shouted back into his comms. Reinforcements are on their way. With renewed vigor, Elian and his crew pressed on, dodging enemy fire and returning shots with precision as they fought tooth and nail against Varek's forces. Suddenly, explosions erupted nearby as Allied ships joined the fray, turning the tide of battle in an instant. Now's our chance. Mira exclaimed excitedly as she pointed toward an opening created by their allies' attack. Elian seized this opportunity and steered their ship toward it with determination. Let's finish this. Confrontation with Varek. As they barreled toward Varek's flagship, a massive vessel looming ominously ahead, Elian felt a mix of fear and resolve welling up inside him. This is it, he said quietly, glancing at the Los and Mira beside him. We confront him now. With laser fire illuminating their path like lightning strikes against darkness, they closed in on Varek's flagship, the heart of his operation. As they boarded Varek's ship amidst chaos and destruction unfolding around them, Elian felt adrenaline coursing through his veins. This was where everything would come to a head. Varek stood at the center of his command room, a fierce look etched across his features as he spotted Elian and his crew entering. You think you can take my ship? Varek sneered defiantly as he raised his weapon toward them. We're here to end this, Elian declared boldly, stepping forward with conviction despite his heart racing wildly within him. The final showdown. A fierce battle ensued within Varek's command room, blaster fire exchanged amidst shouts and chaos as both sides fought tooth and nail for control over their destinies. Elian felt every ounce of fear fade away. This was about more than just knowledge, it was about loyalty to one another and fighting for what was right. With each clash of weapons resonating throughout the room, Elian realized that victory would not come easily, but together with the Los and Mira by his side, they would face whatever challenges lay ahead. In that moment, the battle became more than just physical, it transformed into a testament of loyalty against lies, a fight not only for survival but also for unity among all who called Keelera home.